Far beyond Earth, across the cold and endless galaxy, warning alarms were screaming. Red lights flashed across giant control rooms. Military officers shouted orders. Massive warships changed direction at once. The strongest fleets in the galaxy were moving fast toward one small forgotten planet. They were not chasing a dangerous army. They were not hunting a deadly weapon. They were hunting a child. And only one human stood in their way. On the dark mining planet called Carthos 9, the night was quiet. The planet had once been full of life. Thousands of miners had worked there, digging deep into the black stone for rare crystals. But years ago, the mines had dried up. The companies left. The cities became empty. Now only dust-broken machines and silence remained. In the middle of this dead world, one small metal shelter stood alone. Inside it lived Ethan Cole. Ethan was a former human soldier. Years ago, he had fought in many battles for the Galactic Alliance. He had seen worlds burn. He had watched friends die. When the war finally ended, Ethan disappeared. He wanted peace. Now he lived alone on Carthos 9, far away from people, far away from war. That night, Ethan was sitting at his small table, fixing an old radio. The weak signal played soft static. Outside, cold wind pushed sand against the metal walls. Then suddenly, the sky exploded. A bright orange light flashed through the small window. Ethan jumped to his feet. A loud roar shook the ground. The entire shelter trembled. "What was that?" he whispered. He quickly grabbed his old plasma rifle and rushed outside. The night sky burned with falling fire. A ship was crashing. It tore through the dark clouds like a dying star. Sparks and broken metal scattered everywhere. Then it slammed into the desert hills not far from Ethan's shelter. The ground shook so hard that Ethan nearly fell. For a moment, everything became silent. Then black smoke rose into the cold air. Ethan stared at the crash site. No ships ever came to Carthos 9. Something was very wrong. Without wasting time, he climbed onto his old sand bike and sped toward the burning wreck. As he got closer, he saw the ship was unlike anything he had seen before. Its smooth silver surface was covered with strange glowing symbols. It was not from any known race in the Alliance. The ship had been badly damaged. Flames burned through broken sections of its body. Ethan parked and carefully moved closer, his rifle ready. Inside the wreckage, he heard weak coughing. Someone was alive. He climbed through a broken opening and entered the ship. Smoke filled the air. Broken wires sparked above him. And there, near the center of the ship, he saw her. An alien woman was lying on the floor. Her silver skin was burned in several places. She was badly injured. In her arms, she held a small child. The child looked about 8 years old. She had pale blue skin, glowing white eyes, and long silver hair. The little girl was unconscious. The woman looked up as Ethan approached. Fear filled her eyes at first. Then she saw he was human. Her face softened. With shaking hands, she gently pushed the child toward him. "Please," she whispered. Ethan knelt beside her. "You need help," he said. But the woman slowly shook her head. It was too late for her. She reached into the child's small hand. There, tightly held in her fingers, was a glowing crystal. Its soft blue light filled the room. The woman looked directly into Ethan's eyes. "Protect her," she said weakly. Ethan frowned. "From who?" Her breathing became slower. Her voice dropped to a whisper. "Everyone." Ethan felt cold fear run through him. "What do you mean?" The woman's eyes filled with pain. "If they take her, the galaxy will burn." Then her hand fell still. She was gone. Ethan looked down at the child. The little girl was still breathing. He had no idea who she was. He had no idea what the crystal meant. But something deep inside him told him the woman was telling the truth. Then suddenly, his wrist communicator beeped loudly. Ethan's face turned pale. He looked at the screen. Orbital scanners were detecting multiple incoming ships. Not one. Not two. Hundreds. Massive warships were entering the planet's orbit. Their energy signatures were military grade. The strongest kind. Ethan looked back at the unconscious child. Who was she? And why would an entire fleet come for one little girl? Outside, the dark sky began to glow. Huge ships filled the stars. Then the child's eyes suddenly opened. Bright white light shined from them. She looked directly at Ethan. For a second, her face showed pure fear. Then she whispered 4 chilling words. "They found us." At that exact moment, a powerful voice echoed from the sky through military speakers. "This is Commander Varek of the Galactic Alliance. Hand over the child, or this planet will be destroyed." Ethan slowly stood up. His eyes hardened. He looked at the frightened little girl. Then he tightened his grip on his rifle. Whatever was happening, one thing was now clear. The galaxy wanted this child. And if they wanted her, they would have to go through him first. The sky above Carthos 9 had turned black. It was no longer night. Massive warships covered the stars like a wall of steel. Their engines burned bright blue, shaking the empty desert below. Red warning lights flashed across their metal bodies. The entire planet was surrounded. Inside the burning alien ship, Ethan Cole stood frozen for only a second. The little girl stared at him with glowing white eyes. Her face was pale with fear. "They found us," she whispered again. Then the loud voice returned from the sky. "This is Commander Varek of the Galactic Alliance." Human identified as Ethan Cole. The words hit Ethan like a cold knife. They knew his name. "Step away from the child immediately. Failure to obey will result in total planetary destruction." Ethan's jaw tightened. He looked at the little girl. She was trembling now, clutching the glowing crystal tightly in both hands. She looked like any scared child, small, weak, lost, yet the most powerful military force in the galaxy had come for her. That alone told Ethan something was very wrong. He lowered himself to one knee so his eyes were level with hers. "What's your name?" he asked softly. The girl looked at him for a moment, unsure if she could trust him. Then she spoke. "Lyra," Ethan nodded. "My name is Ethan." Before he could say more, the ground shook. A loud explosion echoed outside. The Alliance had fired a warning shot. Dust and burning metal fell from the broken ceiling. "We need to move," Ethan said. He carefully helped Lyra stand. She was weak, but she could walk. Together, they rushed out of the wreckage into the cold desert wind. Above them, smaller dropships were already falling from the giant warships like dark rain. Soldiers were coming, fast. Ethan quickly led Lyra toward his old sandbike hidden behind a rock ridge. As they ran, Lyra suddenly stopped. Her glowing eyes looked toward the sky. "They're closer than before," she whispered. Ethan glanced up. A large black command ship was lowering through the clouds. Its front opened slowly. A bright beam of white light shined down. And from that light stepped a tall figure in dark armor. Commander Varek. Even from far away, Ethan recognized him. Years ago, they had served in the same military command. Varek had always followed orders without question. Cold, sharp, merciless. A giant speaker on his armor activated. "Ethan Cole," Varek said calmly. "You were once a loyal soldier. Do not make this difficult. Hand over the child." Ethan pushed Lyra behind him. "She's just a kid," he shouted. Varek's expression did not change. "She is not a child. She is a threat to every living world." Ethan narrowed his eyes. What is she? For a brief moment, Varric said nothing. Then he answered. She is the last key. The words made no sense. But Ethan could hear something strange in Varric's voice. Fear. Commander Varric was afraid. That scared Ethan more than the warships. Last warning, Varric said. Give her to us. Ethan looked back at Lyra. Her face was filled with panic. Then she quietly spoke. They're lying, Ethan turned. What? They kept me in a dark place, she said, her voice shaking. They called me dangerous. They tested me. Hurt me. Her small hands gripped the crystal tighter. My mother helped me escape. Ethan stared at her. This was no weapon. This was a frightened little girl running from monsters. His choice became clear. He looked directly at Varric. No. The commander's eyes hardened. So be it. At once, armed soldiers poured out from the landing ships. Dozens of them rushed forward. Ethan grabbed Lyra's hand. Run. They sprinted toward the old mining tunnels near the cliffs. Blaster fire exploded behind them, sending sand into the air. Ethan fired back with his plasma rifle, forcing several soldiers to take cover. The entrance to the tunnel was only meters away. But more soldiers dropped from above, blocking their path. Ethan cursed. They were trapped. Then suddenly, Lyra reached out and touched his arm. The moment her fingers made contact, Ethan's world disappeared. A powerful flash filled his mind. He saw stars exploding. Entire planets breaking apart. Cities burning across countless worlds. And in the center of it all, Lyra stood alone, glowing with blinding white light. Then he saw something else. Dark figures watching from the shadows of deep space. Waiting. Hunting. The vision ended. Ethan gasped and nearly fell. What was that? He whispered. Lyra looked at him with tears in her glowing eyes. A warning. Before Ethan could ask more, the ground beneath them suddenly opened. The old mining tunnel collapsed. Both Ethan and Lyra fell into darkness. Above them, soldiers rushed to the edge. Commander Varric stared down into the black pit. His face darkened. He spoke only 4 cold words. Seal every exit. Far below, deep under the dead planet, Ethan slowly stood. Beside him, Lyra pointed into the darkness ahead. A faint blue light glowed deep inside the ancient tunnel. And from somewhere within the shadows, a low mechanical sound began to rise. Something down there was waking up. The secret below the dead planet, deep beneath the surface of Carthos 9. The darkness was alive. The sound came again, low, heavy, like the slow breathing of some giant machine sleeping in the dark. Ethan Cole stood still. His plasma rifle raised, beside him. Lyra's glowing eyes stared into the tunnel ahead. The faint blue light in the distance pulsed slowly. Like a heartbeat, dust floated through the cold air, above them, far beyond layers of black stone. The soldiers of the Galactic Alliance were sealing every tunnel exit. There was no way back. Ethan took a slow breath. The fall had left his shoulder aching. But nothing was broken. He glanced at Lyra. She looked strangely calm. Now, almost as if she recognized this place. Do you know what's down here? Ethan asked quietly. Lyra did not answer at first. Her small fingers tightened around the glowing crystal. Then she nodded, double quotes, yes. Ethan frowned. What is it? Her voice was barely a whisper. A memory. The answer made no sense, before Ethan could ask more. The mechanical sound grew louder. Metal scraping against. Metal echoed through the tunnel walls. Something was moving, fast. Ethan grabbed Lyra's hand. Stay close. Together. They moved deeper into the tunnel. The walls around them were old mining stone, at first rough. Cracked, broken by years of abandonment. But after several minutes, everything changed. The natural tunnel suddenly opened into something impossible. Ethan stopped. Before them stood a massive underground chamber. Its walls were smooth silver metal, covered with glowing symbols identical to those on Lyra's crashed ship. The entire place shined with soft blue light. This was not part of the old mining planet. This had been buried here long before humans ever came. At the center of the chamber stood a giant circular structure. It looked like a doorway made of pure crystal. Its surface glowed with flowing lines of energy. Ethan stared in disbelief. What is this place? Lyra stepped forward slowly. Her face had gone pale. My people built this, she said. Ethan turned toward her. Your people? Lyra nodded. Long before the Galactic Alliance existed, my people protected something called the Core Light. The name felt heavy in the cold air. What is it? Ethan asked. Lyra looked at the crystal in her hand. It is the first energy, the power that gave life to stars. Ethan's eyes narrowed. That sounded impossible. No power source could be that strong. But looking at the ancient chamber, he began to wonder. My people were chosen to guard it. Lyra continued. We never used it for war. We only protected it. Her voice became quieter. Then the Alliance found us. Ethan felt his stomach tighten. What did they do? Lyra's glowing eyes filled with sadness. They wanted the Core Light. When my people refused, they destroyed our world. The words hit Ethan hard. Entire worlds had burned under the Alliance before. He had seen enough war to know what power could do to those who wanted more. Still, hearing it from a child made it worse. Why are they hunting you? He asked. Lyra looked down. Because I carry the key. She placed a hand over her chest. The final code is inside me. Ethan suddenly understood. If the Alliance captured her, they could unlock whatever power this core light held. And if it was as powerful as she claimed, entire galaxies could burn. A sudden sharp noise cut through the chamber. Ethan spun around. Red lights flashed across the walls. Then a mechanical voice echoed through the room. Unauthorized presence detected. The silver floor beneath them trembled. From hidden openings in the walls, tall metal figures stepped out. Ancient defense machines. Their eyes glowed. Red. Weapons unfolded from their arms. Ethan raised his rifle instantly. Get behind me. The first machine fired. Blue energy blasted across the chamber. Ethan rolled aside, firing back. His plasma shots hit the machine's chest, but barely slowed it. More machines advanced. 5. 10. Too many. Lyra suddenly stepped forward. Wait. She lifted the glowing crystal high into the air. The chamber froze. The machines stopped instantly. Their red eyes turned blue. Then, one by one, they lowered their weapons. Silence returned. Ethan slowly stood. What just happened? They recognized the crystal, Lyra said. It controls this place. Before Ethan could respond, the giant crystal doorway at the center of the chamber suddenly lit up. Energy rushed through its surface. A bright image appeared above it. A hologram. It showed a map of the galaxy. One area blinked red. Then, Ethan saw something terrifying. Dozens of massive dark signals were moving toward KARTHOS-9. These were not Alliance ships. Energy readings were unlike anything had ever seen. Cold. Ancient. Deadly. Lyra's face turned white. No. Ethan looked at her. What is it? Her voice shook. They found us. Ethan stared at the incoming fleet. Who? Lyra looked into the darkness beyond the glowing chamber, and when she answered, fear filled every word. The Voidborn. The name sent a chill through the room. My people did not destroy the core light to hide it from the Alliance, she whispered. We hid it from them. Before Ethan could ask another question, the entire chamber shook violently. A massive explosion thundered from above. Dust rained from the ceiling. Commander, Varrok's voice echoed through hidden speakers. We are coming down. Ethan. There is nowhere left to run. Ethan tightened his grip on his rifle. Alliance soldiers were coming from above. The Voidborn were coming from space. And trapped deep below a dead planet. He stood beside the one child both sides were desperate to claim. Then Lyra looked up at him and asked the question that changed everything. Will you still protect me? Even now? Ethan looked into her frightened, glowing eyes. Then he gave only one answer: yes. To Neil, the ancient chamber shook like it was alive. Dust rained from the silver ceiling, somewhere above. Explosions thundered through the buried tunnels as Commander Varek's forces blasted their way down. At the same time, the dark fleet of the Voidborn was entering orbit. Two powerful enemies were closing in, and deep beneath the dead planet, one human and one frightened child stood. Alone, Ethan Cole tightened his grip on his plasma rifle. The old weapon hummed softly in his hands. He looked toward the glowing crystal doorway at the center of the chamber. Then back at Lyra. Her small face was pale, but her glowing white eyes were steady. She was afraid, yet she was trying hard not to show it. That reminded Ethan of someone himself years ago. When he had first entered battle as a young soldier, he had hidden his fear the same way. He pushed the thought aside. There was no time for memory. We need a defense line, he said. Lyra nodded. The ancient machines around them stood silent, waiting. Can they help us? Ethan asked. Lyra placed her hand on the crystal. The chamber answered instantly. Blue energy rushed across the walls. Defense machines turned toward her. Their eyes glowed brighter. They obey the crystal, she said. Ethan gave a short nod. Good. He quickly moved across the chamber, studying every entrance. There were 3 tunnel openings, many to defend easily. He had to think fast. Years of war had taught him one thing: when outnumbered, use the battlefield itself. He spotted broken power lines running across the walls. Old mining charges were still buried in some tunnel supports. A dangerous smile crossed his face. This could work. For the next several minutes, Ethan worked quickly. He rerouted old energy cells. He set plasma traps. He positioned the ancient defense machines at key points. Lyra followed closely, watching him. You've done this before, she said quietly. Ethan paused for a moment. His face darkened. Too many times. He remembered burning worlds, screaming civilians, orders he had obeyed because he had believed they were right. Until the day he learned the truth. The Galactic Alliance was not protecting peace. It was protecting power. That was the day Ethan had walked away. He had hidden himself on Carthos 9, hoping never to fight again. But peace had found him only long enough to remind him what war cost. Lyra looked at him carefully. Why are you helping me? The question caught him off guard. He looked down at her. For a moment, he saw not an alien child, not a galactic key, not some great power. He saw only a scared little girl who had lost everything. And he remembered his younger sister back on Earth. Long gone now. Lost during the colony wars. Because someone should, he said softly. Before Lyra could reply, the chamber lights suddenly flashed red. A mechanical voice echoed through the room. Warning. Outer tunnel breach detected. Ethan's eyes sharpened. There. Here. The first explosion came from the left tunnel. Metal screamed as the entrance was blasted open. Alliance soldiers poured through the smoke. Ethan fired. Instantly. Blue plasma bolts tore through the darkness. First wave dropped. At the same moment, Lyra lifted the crystal. The ancient defense machines came alive. Energy blasts filled the chamber. The tunnel exploded with fire. More soldiers rushed forward. Too many. Ethan moved with perfect control. Firing, reloading, shifting position. Every movement was fast and precise. This was not the lonely man from the desert. Shelter. This was the soldier he used to be, only now he fought for something real. A second tunnel burst open. More soldiers entered. Then the chamber speakers activated. Commander Varek's voice filled the room. You cannot win. Ethan, stand down. Ethan ignored him. He triggered one of his hidden traps. The tunnel ceiling collapsed instantly. Stone and metal crushed half. The incoming soldiers. For a brief second, silence returned. Then heavy footsteps echoed from the main entrance. Slow. Confident. Commander Varek himself stepped into the chamber. His black armor was untouched. A glowing energy blade hummed in his hand. Behind him stood elite soldiers, the strongest of the Alliance, Varek's cold eyes locked onto Ethan. You always were stubborn, he said. Ethan raised his rifle. You always were a coward. Varek's face did not change, but his voice grew colder. You still don't understand. He looked toward Lyra. If the Voidborn reach her, every living system will fall. Give her to us. Lyra stepped back. Fear filled her glowing eyes. Ethan did not move. No. For the first time, Varek's calm expression cracked. You would risk the galaxy for one child? Ethan's answer came without hesitation. No. He looked directly into Varek's eyes. I'm risking it against men like you. The chamber fell. Silent. Then Varek lifted his blade. So be it. He charged. At that exact moment, Lyra's crystal suddenly blazed with brilliant white light. The entire chamber shook. Violently, the crystal doorway behind them began to open. A wave of ancient energy exploded. Outward, everyone was thrown back, and from inside the opening came something impossible, a deep voice. Ancient, mechanical. Awakening after thousands of years. It spoke only 5 chilling words. The Guardian has returned. The truth hidden in his blood. The chamber fell into complete silence. The ancient voice still echoed through the silver walls. The Guardian has returned. The glowing crystal doorway stood fully open. Now blinding white light poured from inside, filling the chamber like liquid fire. Commander Varek and his soldiers had been thrown back by the energy wave. Ethan struggled to stand. His ears rang, his vision blurred. But through the light, he saw something moving. Tall figure slowly stepped out of the doorway. It was not human. It was not machine. It was something in between. Its body was made of smooth silver metal, but blue energy flowed through it like blood. Strange symbols covered its surface. Its face was calm and expressionless, yet its glowing eyes felt ancient. Older than worlds, older than memory itself. The Guardian had awakened. Machine's eyes moved across the chamber, first toward Lyra, then toward Commander Varek, and finally toward Ethan. The moment its glowing gaze touched him, Ethan felt a sharp pain explode inside his head. He dropped to one knee. Fragments of memory crashed into his mind like broken glass. A cold laboratory. Bright white lights. Scientists in dark uniforms, voices speaking above him. He is stable. The human subject accepted the gene transfer. He will carry the tracker code. Ethan gasped. No. This could not be real. More memories came. He saw himself younger, strapped to a metal table, needles pushed into his skin, machines scanning his blood. Commander Varek standing behind the glass, watching silently. Then a final voice. When the child appears, he will lead us to her. The memories vanished. Ethan nearly collapsed. His hands trembled. Commander Varek slowly stood, his dark armor glowing from reflected light. A faint smile crossed his face. So, he said coldly, you finally remember. Ethan looked up, breathing hard. What did you do to me? Varek stepped forward. Years ago, when your unit was reported dead during the Orion conflict, you were recovered. You were useful. Ethan's stomach twisted. No. We altered your DNA, Varek continued. Your body was fused with ancient genetic markers recovered from Lyra's people. You were designed to detect the child, to track her, to lead us to the core light. The truth hit Ethan like a hammer. His entire life after the war had been a lie. Even his escape to Carthos 9 planned. Every step had been part of their design. Lyra stared at him, fear filling her glowing eyes. You were sent to find me? Her voice was small, broken. Ethan turned toward her. For the first time since they met, doubt appeared in her face, and that hurt more than the truth itself. I didn't know, Ethan said. His voice was rough. I swear. Commander Varek laughed softly. Does it matter? He raised his blade. His purpose is complete. Several elite soldiers moved toward Ethan, but before they could reach him, the Guardian suddenly stepped forward. Its glowing hand lifted. The chamber trembled. A wall of blue energy erupted between Ethan and the soldiers. The machine's ancient voice echoed again. Blood. Recognized. The symbols across Ethan's skin began to glow. He looked down in shock as faint blue lines appeared beneath his arms. The same symbols carved into the chamber walls. Guardian turned fully toward him. Primary protector confirmed. Commander. Varek's face changed. For the first time, fear appeared. That is impossible. The Guardian ignored him. And approached Ethan slowly, then extended one glowing hand. A beam of light connected to Ethan's chest. Suddenly, more memories flooded into him, but these were different. Older. Clearer. He saw Lyra's world before its destruction. Beautiful silver cities floating beneath stars. He saw the Alliance attack. He saw Lyra's mother carrying her through fire. And he saw something else. Human. Standing beside Lyra's people, helping them, protecting them. The man looked exactly like Ethan. No. Ethan whispered. Then he understood. The human was not him. It was his father. The Guardian's voice filled his mind. Your bloodline was chosen generations ago. The first human protector gave his life to defend the core light. His blood carries the bond. Ethan's breathing stopped. His father had not died during a mining accident like he had always been told. He had died protecting this secret. The Alliance had hidden the truth, and later, they had used Ethan as a weapon, but they had made one mistake. They had awakened the same bond they hoped to control. Ethan slowly stood. The glowing marks on his skin burned brighter. Commander Varek stepped back. This changes nothing, he snapped. He raised his blade, and Koshko's blade charged, but Ethan moved faster. Without knowing how, he caught Varek's wrist. Blue energy exploded from his hand. Varek screamed as his blade shattered into dust. The chamber shook violently. The Guardian's voice thundered through the room. The protector has awakened. Lyra stared at Ethan in shock. He looked back at her. There was no fear in her face now, only trust. Then suddenly, every light in the chamber turned red. A new warning echoed across the walls. Voidborn fleet has breached orbit. The holographic galaxy map appeared again. Dark ships were descending fast. Much faster than before. The real enemy had arrived. The Guardian turned toward the crystal doorway. Its voice was calm but urgent. The child must reach the heart chamber. Lyra looked at Ethan. What happens there? The Guardian answered with chilling words. There, she will decide whether the galaxy survives or ends forever. Part 6. The Child Who Could Wake the Stars. The warning lights turned the ancient chamber blood red. Across the silver walls, dark symbols flashed like living fire. The holographic map above the crystal doorway showed the impossible. The Voidborn fleet had entered Carthos 9's atmosphere. Dozens of black ships were falling through the clouds like shadows from another universe. Their shapes were wrong. Too smooth. Too silent. They looked less like machines and more like living darkness. Even Commander Varek stared at the map in horror. For the first time, the cold commander looked afraid. The shields are already gone, one of his soldiers said through his helmet comm. That's impossible, another whispered. Nothing was impossible anymore. The Guardian turned at Lord Lyra, its glowing eyes burned brighter than before. The heart chamber is opening. The crystal doorway widened. A long silver bridge slowly rose from the floor, leading into endless white light. Cold energy flowed from it like wind. Lyra stared into the brightness. Her small hands trembled. What is in there? She asked. The Guardian answered in its calm, ancient voice. The heart of the core. Light, the source your people died protecting. Ethan stepped beside her. Glowing marks on his skin still burned with blue energy. He could feel the power moving through his blood. It was strange. Heavy. Alive. Commander Varek slowly stood behind them. His broken blade lay in pieces at his feet. His face was hard. Again. Controlled. But Ethan could see the truth. Varek was desperate. Listen to me, Varek said, his voice sharp. If the Voidborn reach the core light, every world in this galaxy will fall. Lyra turned toward him. Then why hunt me? Varek said nothing for a moment. Then he answered, because we believed only control could stop what was coming. His words echoed through the chamber. Even Ethan felt the weight of them. For years, the Alliance had feared the Voidborn. Everything they had done, the experiments, the lies, the destruction of Lyra's people had been done in fear. But fear had made them monsters. Violent explosions shook the chamber. One side wall collapsed inward. Dark smoke filled the air. And through it stepped the first Voidborn. They were tall and thin, covered in black armor that looked grown. Rather than built, their faces were hidden behind smooth dark masks. No eyes. No mouths. Only emptiness. They moved silently. Cold blue blades formed from their hands. The chamber temperature dropped instantly. Alliance soldiers opened fire. Bright plasma blasts filled the room. Voidborn walked through them. The shots vanished into their dark armor as if swallowed. One Voidborn moved. In the single blur, 3 soldiers fell. Commander Varek shouted orders. Chaos exploded across the chamber. The ancient defense machines attacked, filling the air with energy fire. But more Voidborn entered through the broken wall. Too many. The Guardian turned sharply toward Ethan. Take the child. Reach the heart chamber. Ethan nodded. He grabbed Lyra's hand. Come on. They ran onto the glowing bridge. Behind them, the chamber became a battlefield. The Guardian unleashed waves of blue energy. Commander Varek fought beside his remaining soldiers. For a brief moment, former enemies stood together against the darkness. But the Voidborn kept coming. Halfway across the bridge, Lyra suddenly stopped. Ethan turned. What is it? Her glowing eyes had widened. She was staring into the white light ahead. I can hear it. Hear what? The core. Her voice sounded distant. As if she were listening to something far beyond human hearing. She pulled free from Ethan's hand and walked forward alone. The moment she stepped into the heart chamber, everything changed. The room was enormous. Its ceiling vanished into endless light. At The center floated a giant sphere of pure white energy. It was beautiful. Terrifying. Like a living star. The core. Lyra slowly approached it. The sphere pulsed as if recognizing her. Ethan followed carefully. Lyra. But she did not answer. Her body was rising from the floor. Floating. Her silver hair moved as if caught in invisible wind. The crystal in her hand shattered into glowing dust. White sphere opened. A beam of pure light struck her chest. Lyra screamed. The sound echoed through every corner of the chamber. Ethan rushed forward, but an invisible force threw him back. The Guardian's voice thundered from behind. The awakening has begun. Outside the heart chamber, battle screams filled the air. The Voidborn were breaking through. Commander Varek's forces were falling, and inside the chamber, Lyra was changing. Her glowing eyes became brighter than stars. Lines of white energy spread across her skin. The entire planet trembled. Far above, every ship in orbit suddenly lost power. Alliance cruisers, Voidborn vessels. All of them went dark. Across space, stars themselves seemed to flicker. Ethan stared in shock. Lyra was not just activating the core. She was becoming part of it. Then she looked down at him, but these were not the eyes of a frightened little girl. They were ancient, filled with endless power. Her voice echoed like many voices speaking as one. The galaxy must choose. A second later, the heart chamber darkened. And from the shadows beyond the core light, something far older began to move. The Guardian's voice shook for the first time. No. Ethan rose slowly. What is it? The answer came like a whisper of pure fear. The first void has awakened. The heart chamber had gone silent. The glowing white light of the core flickered weakly, as if even it feared what was rising from the shadows. Ethan Cole stood frozen. Across the chamber, Lyra still floated high above the silver floor, wrapped in streams of white energy. But something had changed. The warmth in her glowing eyes was fading. A deep darkness was spreading through the endless chamber. And from the black space beyond the core light, a shape slowly appeared. At first, it looked like smoke. Then it became larger, darker, its form twisted like living shadow. No face, no body, only an endless mass of darkness with thousands of glowing blue eyes opening inside it. The first void, the true creator of the Voidborn. The ancient enemy Lyra's people had hidden the core light from. Even the Guardian stepped back. Its silver body dimmed. Its voice, once calm and powerful, now carried fear. It has returned. The first void spoke. Its voice was not sound. It entered directly into every mind. Cold, heavy, ancient. The child is mine. The chamber trembled. Outside, distant screams echoed as the remaining Alliance soldiers were overwhelmed. Commander Varek stumbled into the heart chamber, his armor badly damaged. He looked up at the dark creature and froze. For the first time in his life, he looked truly helpless. This cannot be real, he whispered. The first void's countless glowing eyes turned toward him. In an instant, black energy shot across the chamber. Varek screamed as darkness wrapped around his body. The energy drained from his armor. His strength vanished. He collapsed to his knees. The same man who once commanded fleets now looked small and broken. The first void ignored him. Its eyes turned toward Lyra. The core belongs to darkness. Lyra's glowing face twisted in pain. The darkness was pulling at her, trying to take control, trying to claim the power of the core light. Ethan looked around desperately. There had to be a way. Then the glowing marks on his skin began to burn. The Guardian turned toward him. Its ancient eyes focused sharply. The protector bond is incomplete. Ethan gritted his teeth. What does that mean? The Guardian's answer came quickly. Only human sacrifice can complete the bond. The words hit like ice. Ethan understood at once. To fully awaken the protector power, he would have to give his life. The guardian stepped closer. Your bloodline was chosen for this moment. Through your life, the child can be freed. Ethan looked up at Lyra, the little girl he had promised to protect. The frightened child who had trusted him when no one else would. He thought of all the world still alive above them. Billions of people, families, children, and he knew what had to be done. Lyra's glowing eyes suddenly found his. For just a second, her normal voice broke through. Ethan, no. A small tear rolled down her cheek. Ethan smiled softly. It was the same kind smile he had given her the night they met. You once asked why I helped you, he said. His voice was calm. Now you know. Before Lyra could answer, Ethan turned and ran. Straight toward the core light, the first void roared. Dark tendrils shot toward him. But the glowing marks on Ethan's body burst into brilliant blue fire. The darkness could not touch him. He leaped into the center of the chamber. The core light exploded around him. Pain unlike anything he had ever known tore through his body. Memories flashed before his eyes. His childhood on Earth, his father's smile, the wars, the losses, the lonely years on Carthos 9, and finally, Lyra, scared and small inside the burning wreckage. The moment everything changed. Ethan reached toward the light. I choose to protect. The core answered. A wave of pure white energy erupted outward. It struck Lyra first. The darkness around her shattered instantly. Then it hit the first void. The creature screamed. For the first time in its ancient existence, it knew fear. The white light spread beyond the chamber, beyond the dead planet, beyond Carthos 9 itself, across the entire galaxy. Void-born ships disintegrated in orbit. Darkness vanished from every system. The first void let out one final terrible scream and was gone. Then silence returned. The chamber slowly dimmed. Lyra fell gently back to the floor. Her glowing eyes returned to normal. She looked around. The darkness was gone. The battle was over. But Ethan was nowhere to be seen. Only a small blue light floated where he had stood. Lyra walked forward slowly. The light settled into her hand, warm, peaceful, a final gift. Years later, the galaxy was no longer ruled by fear. The Alliance had fallen. A new Council of Worlds stood united. And at its center stood Lyra, now older and stronger. Behind her, carved into white crystal, was the name of the human who had saved them all. Ethan Cole. When the Council asked why she trusted a human above all others, Lyra smiled softly. Her fingers touched the small blue light she still carried. And she gave the answer the galaxy would never forget. Because when the entire galaxy hunted me, one human chose kindness. And sometimes, one act of kindness is stronger than all the darkness in the universe.